Good evening. The old man here, December 7th, 2024. Tonight's video was inspired by Dan Chaser. I believe it was 5332 and free unsolicited advice. Those two channels were talking about home defense and asked my opinion on what might be the best home defense firearms for home defense. I'd like to back that up a little bit and say that the best weapon for either home defense or concealed carry is right here. There's your best weapon right there. 98% of this game, if you will, is all in your head. It's all involved pre-planning. Gets back to that planning I've been talking about. You got to think about, let's take your home, for example. That's where you're going to be the most familiar. First, outside your home, pre-planning would be to have the yard cleaned up, pruned up, and don't give a bad guy a place to hide. When you're coming home from work late at night, maybe you're parking out in the street or the driveway, and bad guy's got a good place to hide, or let's call it an ambush point. That's where you're going to be the most vulnerable. So keep that cleaned up, pruned up, trimmed up, whatever, and keep it well lit as well. Could be as simple as a yard light. You don't have to have it lit up like the Taj Mahal. Just a yard light or two, depending on how big your yard is. Lights make the bad guy uncomfortable. So there's something to think about. And then inside your home, what are some of the things you got to think about inside your home? Well, I think about lighting as well. Even in the middle of the night, you could have something as simple as a few of little lights plugged in. What am I trying to say? At any rate, you know what I mean. Little lights, night lights, there you go, that's what I was looking for, little night lights. Now, they don't give somebody that's not familiar with your home the ability to navigate, but you having the home advantage, you already got a pretty good idea of the layout, unless the wife moves the furniture every other day. That could be a problem. But you could go through your home in the middle of the night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, you get up, take a leak or whatever. Go check out your home, let's make like you're clearing that home. You make believe you've heard a noise in the other end of the house, and you got to work your way down to that other end of the house. Of course, that means you're defending somebody else in that home. So if you weren't defending somebody else, I would say that the thing to think about is defend the position you're in. But let's say you get kids at the other end of the home and you got to work your way down there to see what the hell's going on. In that case, those night lights are going to give you just enough light to navigate without tripping over something, say dog toys or whatever, and possibly enough light to identify your target. You need to be able to identify your target. That's something most people don't think about. In a dark room, or mostly dark room, you might stumble across the bad guy, but if you can't identify your target for sure, that might be another family member, even if you think, well, my kids aren't living with me anymore, they're in college or whatever else. Well, say that kid comes home drunk from college, maybe even got kicked out of college. He stumbles into the house. Again, the wife's moved the furniture, so he's bumping around since he left. The wife moved the furniture. he's bumping around in the dark trying to find his bedroom. You hear something, go out there and start shooting at shadows that you couldn't identify your target. Now you just killed your kid. Now, how much sense does that make? So you definitely need to be able to identify your target, and those little night lights can play a big role in that. The bad guy, he's not going to be familiar with your house, so he's still going to have a hard time navigating. But getting back to, let's say it's just you and the wife, or maybe you by yourself, if you're both in that same room and you're hearing noises at the other end of the house, well, you could just retrieve your firearm, whatever that is. The best thing to do is stand your position or defend defend your position and not go looking for the bad guy. You might choose to call 911 at that time, get the police rolling, but and possibly even stay on the line with them while you're doing that. Everything's recorded. That way, if the guy comes through your bedroom door and you say, "Hey, I've got a gun and I'm afraid for my life, I'm gonna shoot," and if he keeps coming, just shoot him. Everything there is recorded. But going out and looking for somebody else, if you're not defending some other family member in that home, you're just asking for trouble. And what I mean by that is you hear, and you're assuming there's one other person in that house, and the guy that's making all the racket, you're focusing on him. But what you don't see is there's another person or two there that's kind of waiting in the shadows to see if somebody comes out of the other bedrooms. And they got that guy's backside covered. And you're focusing on the one that's making all the noise, and one of the other two, or let's say the other person, takes you out. So, like I said, defending your own position or defending your position in your own room or your bedroom is the best thing to do, unless, like I said, unless you've got other family members you got to defend. That's a different story. You got to work your way to at least their bedrooms, make sure they're okay, and then maybe take a defensive position there and not go clear the rest of the house. I don't know how much sense that makes, but if you think about it, makes a hell of a lot of sense. The other thing you got to think about in your own home, especially, is the difference between concealment and cover. And the difference is, the way I look at it is, and tell you the truth, back in the day, I was thinking of them both as basically being the same. But in this case, cover is actually totally different. Concealment is something you can hide behind, but if the bad guy sees you, he can shoot through it. Say an inside hollow door inside the home, somebody can obviously easily shoot through that. But you could use it as concealment to hide behind. And in the case of cover, is something the bad guy can't shoot through. And if you think about it, there's next to nothing in your home that is cover. Quite often in the CPL class, I ask the same question. And people say things like refrigerators, freezers, and things like that might be good cover. Safe might be good cover. Well, I beg to differ. I know, number one, a refrigerator, if you think about it, you got two thin sheets of tin, and I mean really thin sheets of tin on the outside, some plastic on the inside, and God only knows what the rest of the inside. So that's not going to stop a bullet. 9mm is going to go through that real easy. So that would be good. Maybe you can hide behind it and use it as concealment, but it's not good cover. The same thing with a freezer. Now, if you just filled an upright freezer full of beef a week ago and it's full and it's full, well, okay, that's good cover, or concealment, or no, cover, cover. That's good cover. But 2-3 weeks, a month later, when, portions of that freezer is empty, it's no longer good cover. It's concealment at best. So if you think about it, there's next to nothing in your home that is covered. So you got to make plans for that. You got to be thinking around that. Most people, aren't thinking about cover at all. They're just thinking, if the bad guy spots you and he starts shooting at you, what are you going to use for cover? Like I said, there's next to nothing in the home that's covered. So you got to have a better plan. Now, on the other hand, if you're concealed carrying, and let's say you're in a parking lot of a grocery store or something, what out there is a good cover? And in my class, most people say, well, automobile is good cover. Well, most of an automobile is good concealment. The only cover is the engine block. That is the only good cover. The rest of that car is concealment. Now, up here we got Myers, and our Myers grocery stores, the base of the lights are huge. I would say they're almost 4 feet tall on the base and 6 feet around of concrete. Just huge, huge light bases. I don't know why theirs is so big compared to everybody else, but that is damn good cover. You could use that for cover. Hell, if he was shooting a 50, he can't get through that much concrete with a 50 unless he's got a lot of ammo to burn up. So that's good cover. Point is, there's not a lot of cover, and you're going to need cover at some point in a gunfight. So you need to think about cover. The other thing you need to think about, let's say in Myers parking lot or any grocery store's parking lot, is a lot of people will come out of a grocery store. They don't even know where their car's at. I've seen them looking around the parking lot, and then they start hitting the key fob and, hitting their panic alarm just to see where their car's at. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't think that's very smart. That's piss poor pre-planning for sure. What I tend to do in that case, in the big, especially the big parking lots, I tend to park in the same spot all the time, or very near the same spot every time. I like to pick out let's say a cart corral, and park near that within 2-3 parking spots of that. So if you got a lot of things on your mind and you just bail out of the vehicle, head on in, and when you're coming out, you're going, oh shit, where's my vehicle? Well, if you park it in the same place all the time, you're just going to automatically head for that cart corral, and by the time you get there, you're going to see it. Before you even get halfway there, you're probably going to see it, unless there's a big truck or big van or something in the way. But still, you got a pretty good idea where your vehicle's at. And you don't put your phone away on the way into the store and on the way out of the store. That's good pre-planning. Pay attention, heads up. Notice your surroundings. Don't look like a victim. When you got your head in the phone all the way in the store, you don't know if a guy's watching you, and he comes up with a good plan to take you out on the way out. Sometimes all he's got to wait is 15, 20 minutes, and you're on your way out, and you got that victim mentality where you got your head stuck in your phone. He might just hit you in the head and hope for the best. Hope you've got something he can steal. You never know. And then again, for the gals too, it's a lot more than just money. So you got to really watch yourself there as far as being kidnapped or whatever. That shit happens everywhere. A lot of people live in their own little bubble and they don't hear nothing about it. But a lot of times these big department stores, they'll get that news buried because they don't want the word to spread that, somebody got robbed in their parking lot, or somebody got raped in their parking lot, or kidnapped from their parking lot. So just because you ain't heard about it doesn't mean it hasn't happened. Keep that in mind as well. But getting back to, maybe I will talk a little bit about firearms, but I think the most important thing is pre-planning and using your head. One sure way to win a gunfight, don't get in one. And by pre-planning, thinking ahead, your odds go down farther and farther and farther that you'll ever be involved in a gunfight. But when it comes to firearms for home defense, a lot of people first go to shotgun. Well, yeah, pump shotgun's pretty simple. I'll have to give you that. Most people know how to run them. If you don't, you better learn. That thing's got to be second nature to you for as far as safety coming off fast when you need it, being able to rack that shotgun fast. And the other problem is most of them's too damn long. That's what I found, trying to navigate. And you can take your home defense shotgun if you got one, unloaded, 3 o'clock in the morning. Go navigate through your house. Try to make a corner, try to clear your house, see what that's like. It's not easy with even a home defense shotgun with a 18-inch barrel is not easy to get around the house. Then it comes down to maybe a handgun. Well, the other thing you got to think about shotgun too while I'm there is that, what is it like to, over penetration? So in other words, if you do shoot at somebody, are you going to over penetrate that wall? And what's on the other side of that wall? Is it your neighbor? If you've got an apartment, is that your neighbor? Is it the kid's bedroom? Is it the family room? And maybe somebody was out there watching TV, or something like that, fell asleep on the couch. You got to be aware of your direction you're pointing in or you're shooting in and what's on the other side. Very easy to over-penetrate with a shotgun, especially even double-aught buck. Slug, that's a no-brainer. It's going to go through several walls. But even double-aught buck's going to go through a drywall. Drywall, all that really is the 4 sheets of paper and a little bit of gypsum thrown in. You can easily over-penetrate a drywall, 2 layers of drywall and easily kill somebody in the next room you didn't intend to kill. So you got to think about over-penetration. Handguns also, even a 9mm, you'd be surprised how much a 9mm will go through. Most of us don't think of a 9mm as being very much, although it's probably the widest used cartridge across the world for defense. But easily go through drywall. So if you don't hit what you're shooting at and you go through a next wall, there again, is that your neighbor on the other side of the wall? Is that your kids on the other side of the wall? Somebody fell asleep on the couch, are they on the other side of that wall? You got to be aware of that. And so you got to be sure you can hit your target. And honestly, with a handgun, that takes an awful lot of training that I don't think people even realize how much training that really takes before you're extremely proficient with a handgun. And that's what you need to be if you're going to use it for defense. Next thing might be an AR. And a lot of people are going to say, well, an AR is just way too much over penetration. Well, I agree there. If you miss what you're shooting at, it is a lot of over penetration. But the ARs I like is a AR with like a 7.5-inch barrel suppressed, and I got a brace on it. So basically, it's a pistol with a brace on it, so I can shoulder it. And you'd be surprised at how well I can shoot that gun. I've done a lot of training with that gun. And I'm telling you, even running and gunning, we've tried some different things where basically you run for 50 yards, you get your heart rate up, you stop, you shoot fast, you move on, you shoot, engage another target, shoot fast, and just keep moving until you run out of targets. And you'd be surprised. I've cleaned the course so many times, it's pathetic. And I can't do that with a handgun, and I've shot a handgun a lot. And the shotgun disadvantage with a scenario like I just said, you run out of ammo too fast. That's the thing. Even if you got a 18-inch barrel and you got a 8-shot mag tube, you'll go through 8 shots awful fast. And mind you, you're probably not going to have that many targets in the house, but you don't know. And then again, you got to worry about over penetration, missing the target. I would say it's pretty easy with a shotgun because if it's at any distance at all, your pattern's starting to spread, and you could miss. You could hit the guy with half the pattern and miss with the other half the pattern. The other half the pattern's still lethal. Excuse me. So then, that's my favorite weapon. Like I said, a 7.5-inch 5.56 suppressed with a brace on it. Love that firearm. I mean, It is just deadly as hell in the right hands. If you do a reasonable amount of training, it's faster, it's easier to learn than a handgun is. I've spent tons of rounds of ammo with the handgun and tons of rounds of ammo with a 5.56, and I've never been able to clean a course that I've set up. I mean, I set up my own courses, and they're tough as far as that goes. But I've never been able to clean a course with a handgun. I can do pretty damn good, but I can never clean a course, and that means no misses, none. And putting 3 rounds on each target as fast as you can with a 50-yard run to get you started, just to get the heart pumping. I can't do that with a handgun, I'll tell you. It's close, but I can't. 5.56 and AR, short barrel like that, I can. And the next one, I would think that I played with a little bit, kind of just trying it out, and thinking for maybe somebody that's a little less experienced, or let's say somebody, a gal or somebody's small stature, would be pretty much the same thing. Is Ruger makes a Charger pistol that you can put a brace on and you can suppress it. And I'm telling you what, a 10-22 suppressed 25 round magazine, and they make a double 25. In other words, you get done with one 25 round, you tip it over and you plug it in again, you got another 25 rounds. Man, you talk about firepower. I'm telling you. You're going to want to concentrate on, I would say concentrate on headshots, and normally they're going to tell you don't do that. Don't do headshots. It moves heads move too much. Well, I'm here to tell you 10, 15, 20 feet, it ain't going to make a damn bit of difference. I'm putting down rounds downrange. I can hit them rounds. I can hit my target at 10, 15, 25 feet with a carbine rifle versus a small handgun. Small handguns do not come, even medium size and full size handguns do not compare to a carbine rifle. It's amazing how deadly those things are. So that's something I've been working on and thinking about. I haven't fully proven it yet. Although if I can run a course with a 5.56, I know I could easily do it with a 10-22. The only thing would be cleaning the course and making headshots only. But I think it's very, very doable in a reasonable amount of training. And something like that might be good for somebody that's doesn't even have a lot of training, because the recoil is so easy to control. And if you got it suppressed, even if it's not suppressed, it's not ear splitting, like a 5.56 unsuppressed inside of a building. Oh my God. You turn two or three of them rounds loose inside of a building, short barrel rifle like that. Wow, is that going to suck? Where the 22 is not going to be near as bad. Yeah, it's going to be loud, but it ain't going to be that bad. And but if you run it suppressed, and then even run it subsonic as well as suppressed, you could clear a house and not even make hardly shit for noise. The neighbor's not even going to know what the hell's going on. They'd probably never even hear a shot. So that's kind of the gauntlet I've been thinking about and working on. Like I said, defense, whether it's at home or out with a concealed weapon out in the field, 98% of it's right here in your head. That firearm is just 2% of the equation. It's a tool. That's all it is a tool. Just like a hammer to the carpenter. If the carpenter doesn't have the skills, yeah, that hammer's going to pound a nail in, but that doesn't mean you're going to get the job done very well. Same thing with a handgun or a rifle or a shotgun. That's a tool, and if the operator doesn't have enough skills, he might get the job done, but it's going to be pretty ugly. So, something to think about. Get your head right. That's the main thing. Have a plan. Work on your plan. Always continue to work on your plan. Never just let it rest. Just keep working on that plan. It doesn't take a lot of shooting. It takes a lot of thinking. Some shooting is always good, but a lot of thinking is even better. All right, guys, that's my thoughts for tonight. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I really appreciate the comments, guys. Thanks a lot. You have a great night. Bye-bye.